Hey guys, it's Alex and I'm here with a top 5 video. It's been a while since I posted a top 5 video, but I have planned several for the future, so hopefully there won't be quite such a long hiatus again. Today I wanted to talk about the top 5 books I've read that are set in or around college. I see a number of people online talking about how they wish there were more books set in college, and I figured it might be useful to some people to have a list of some books they could check out if they're interested in reading books that are set in college. It is kind of hard to find books, so some of these are a little bit of a stretch, so I'm going to start from the ones that are most college-centric to the ones that are the least. The first book on this list is one of my favorite books of all time that I've talked about to death and will continue talking about forever, and that is Long May She Reign by Emerson White. This is a YA contemporary about Meg Powers, who's the daughter of the president. As she goes off to college in this book, she lives away from home for the first time, and this book is very much college-centric. This book is about the college experience, and it is about Meg, and about Meg's specific difficulties with the college experience. But more so than any book I've ever read, this focuses entirely on college, and on what it's like to be in college, what it's like to go to class and to have boyfriends and go to college parties, and deal with dorm politics. And for that reason, I think if you're interested in anything about college, you should definitely pick up this book. It is the fourth in a series, and the books start out when Meg is in high school, so you probably would have to read up through the fourth book. It's incredibly worth it. This is one of my favorites of all time, and it was probably one of the first books I read that was ever set in college, and I sort of hadn't realized that was a genre until then. The next book I have is I Don't Want to Be Crazy by Samantha Schutz. This is a nonfiction book. It's a memoir in verse about Samantha Schutz's experience with anxiety. This starts right as her senior year is coming to a close with her friends from home, and then follows her through her years of college as she deals with her newly diagnosed panic disorder. If you're looking for a book about anxiety, I think this is a wonderful one to read. It captures the feelings and the fear and the panic so well, and her dealing with it in a college setting, and her being away from home and having to deal with this new panic disorder that she doesn't understand, that isn't diagnosed at first, away from her parents. She also studies abroad in this book, which I think is also something that you might be looking for in a book set in college. And she deals with her anxiety disorder while in Europe. It's such a wonderful book, and it really captures the idea of having to deal with life away from your parents so well. I think for a lot of people it is the first time that they haven't had their parents to rely on as much. And it's something that Samantha Schutz in this book really writes about very well, along with her personal feelings and her friendships and the way her anxiety really affects her college experience. And I would highly, highly recommend this book. With the next book, I start to get away from the literal college experience, and I have to start to stretch it just a little bit, but it is We Are Okay by LaCour. This is a YA contemporary about a girl whose grandfather has died and she goes off to college. She cuts off contact with everyone from back home, but in this book her former best friend comes to find her and tracks her down and takes her home with her. It's a book a lot about their relationship, both romantic and platonic, and I think it's beautifully done. The reason I say this one can be a bit of a stretch is because it takes place right as winter break starts, so it doesn't ever take place while school is going on, but it does take place a lot while on the school campus in the abandoned dorms where Marin is staying, and it's such a beautifully written book. This was one of my favorites a few years ago, and I'm dying to reread it again this year, but it's so beautifully written and such a wonderful story. It deals with the fear of going home and of not going home to a place you remember correctly, and is one of my all-time favorites by one of my all-time favorite writers. The next book is Roomies by Sara, Zarr, and Altebrando. Again, we're stretching it. This book actually takes place before the girls go to college. Elizabeth receives her random housing assignment and an email for her future roommate, so she emails Lauren, and the story takes place the summer before they go to college, with the two future roommates emailing each other and talking about, at first, what they'll need for school and very basic things, and then deepening as their friendship continues. More than anything, this book is about the anticipation of college. It deals with these two girls who are getting ready for this major change in their life. They both have relationships, they both have families, and they're both struggling with leaving their family in some way. One of them is going to a local school, one of them is going to a school across the country. And the way both girls deal with it is very different, and they're very different people. but I think it sort of alleviates that fear of your roommate being nothing like you, but still having a friendship with them. And I think it's something like a lot of us could really relate to, who got a random assigned roommate and went into it with that fear of who is this person that I'm going to have to live with. It's just a wonderfully written book. Sara Zarr and Tara Altebrando both write from one perspective. It's told from both Elizabeth and Lauren, and I think that really adds to the story a lot. It's one that I really loved when I originally read it, and Sara Zarr is a really wonderful writer. The last book on this list is the most stretch of all of them, and that is Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. This is a science fiction young adult book that's set the summer after a group of friends return from college for the first time. The book doesn't really deal that much with college apart from the fact that the group of characters just came home, but I do think it offers a very interesting discussion on homecoming, that first time you come home from college, and how everything seems different. And while college isn't the center focus of this book and really isn't talked about all that much, I do think it's a very worthwhile read if you're looking for characters in that age range who are going to college, because it's still a focus of the story. And overall, it's a really wonderful, really exciting book. It's a Groundhog Day story about a girl who meets up with some old friends and they get stuck in a time loop while she tries to discover what happened to her former boyfriend who died the year before. It's so incredibly suspenseful and so fascinating, and such a wonderful book to pick up if you like dark, creepy, weird reads. Let me know down below if you have any recommendations for books that are set in college, because there are more than there used to be, but there still aren't that many. And I just really love to pick up a book that was set in college, because it's a big part of our lives for a lot of people. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all again soon.